Tonight we are looking at the Canadian teen comedy drama Naturally Sadie, the show that follows 14-year-old Sadie, who is a high school student and an aspiring naturalist, as we watch her go through everyday life. She has two best friends, Margaret and Rain, who always have her back when things go wrong for Sadie. The show had 3 seasons with 65 episodes being made and first aired in 2005. So now that we have the background, let's take a look at a couple of episodes. First up we have Social Climbers. So we see Sadie walk around with her food as she looks at every group at the school. She is talking about her social ability as her and Margaret come out of the front door, as Margaret says Sadie should follow her lead, as she explains being social is important as they go over to sit with a cool kid. The cool kid starts talking about a nerd's dress style as Sadie asks how is this better, as Margaret then knocks over her can. The cool kid wants to put a stop to this as Margaret then spills her drink all over the nerd. They can't believe it as Margaret says she is sorry. The girl runs off as the cool kid says that was so mean. Margaret says it was an accident as Sadie says her opinion doesn't matter because she has no social skills, as we then see the girls look through some clothes. They say they don't have any money as they say they want to fix the future. Sadie says they have to dress up all nice and kind as Margaret says she is neither. They then see the nerd as she has a bunch of posters. Sadie wants to help her put them out as the nerd thinks it is a joke. Sadie makes Margaret and the nerd become friends as she forces Margaret to hand out the posters. Sadie says that is the right thing to do. So at home, Sadie is trying to study as her brother is performing in the room with his band. Sadie is annoyed as the band get louder and louder. She stomps them out as his brother then says he needs money for the band, otherwise he won't leave the room. Sadie is shocked at this blackmail as she gives in. So at school Margaret is setting up a stall with the nerd as Sadie comes over and asks how everything is going. Margaret says she can't take it anymore as Sadie says it is only for a couple of days. The nerd says Margaret is a great friend as she lies through her teeth. Sadie throws Margaret under the bus as they say the nerd is amazing. The nerd is so happy as they hug. So Margaret is trying to get people to sign up for her stall as her new best friend arrives in a new outfit. It is the same outfit as Margaret as the nerd starts copying her. Margaret is a little freaked out as the nerd says they are like twins. So at home Sadie's brother is upset as he explains no one wants to sign his band. Sadie says his band needs a gig as the brother agrees. The brother suggests Sadie could be their manager as he goes off to tell his band mates. So Margaret is being harassed by her new best friend as Sadie says it is going great. Margaret says it is a problem as Sadie says the plan is working. The nerd comes over in the same outfit again as she says they got the phones mixed up as she talks a lot. Margaret can't believe she has been invited somewhere as she says Sadie should go instead. Sadie says she will sort it out as we then hear Sadie talk about social animals. She explains animals usually have common goals but these two people don't have anything in common, so Sadie says she will put a stop to it. So Sadie is out on the town as she meets up with the nerd. She is showing off her earrings as Sadie wants to say something. The nerd gets the wrong end of the stick as she says she is so happy. Sadie says she should go to see some other kids as the nerd is confused as she thinks Sadie wants to hang out with her instead. The nerd says they are going to be best friends as she talks a lot as Sadie says she is a parasite. So at school the nerd is giving out things as Sadie hides in a locker as Rain comes over and asks what is going on. Sadie tries to hide as Rain figures it out. He says the nerd is clingy as Sadie then talks about parasites as she says the nerd says she never lets go. Margaret is giving out posters as they talk about their social circle. She says it really worked as she thanks Sadie for helping her. Margaret wants to do something later as suddenly the nerd comes over and takes Sadie away. So the brother comes up to the attic and asks Sadie if she has anything for the band as he then spots the poster. He says that is a great idea as Sadie tries to put in but can't. Her brother goes off as we then meet some zoo guy as Sadie explains she works for him after school. She explains all the animals at the store as she says it is the best place on the planet. They give a recap of a conversation they had about parasites as Sadie says she doesn't mind them but she just wanted to get rid of them. The old guy suggests some bad ideas as he then suggests making them uncomfortable as Sadie comes up with a plan. So the nerd comes over as Sadie says some band are playing this weekend as the nerd is not happy as Sadie is suggesting some bad ideas as the nerd starts to get uncomfortable as Sadie itches away. So the band arrive at the location as they find out the lift is out. The nerd shows off her tattoo as Sadie can't believe she did it. The nerd says some of the things she suggested were strange, but said they have to stick together because of what some people have said. Sadie explains they can't be friends with the nerd anymore as she goes over to Margaret to talk to her. She explains what happened as she explains she has no social skills. She talks about being a parasite as Margaret understands. She says you gotta think like a parasite as Sadie thinks about using her brother's band to get rid of the nerd. So she calls the nerd over as she invites her to the band's gig. So the band are climbing a way up the stairs as they then drop an amp. They reach the top floor as they are very tired. One of them says they can't go on as Hal says they can't give up. So Sadie arrives home as she finds a note saying they will meet at the gig. She is a little confused but then figures it out as she takes the nerd away. So the band arrive to the top as they set up for their gig. One of them is tired as they then read the poster. They get the wrong date on the poster as Sadie then arrives. The nerd is impressed with Sadie's brother as the brother likes the nerd. The nerd says she can help out the band as she becomes their manager. So Sadie explains that sometimes animals work together for greater good as Sadie and Margaret come out with their food as they look for somewhere to sit down. The episode then ends. Next up we have quiz show. So Sadie is walking around as she says nature is like competition as she looks around the school, saying everyone wants to be top dog or something as the head teacher then stops her. She says to Sadie she is grateful for having her on the team and together they can end their 17-year losing streak. Sadie can't believe it as the teacher says they just brought all the trophies as she tells her not to be late as Sadie wants to know who the team captain is. So we see Sadie arrive as the team captain tells her off for being late. Sadie can't believe it as he is very rude. The team captain says they were talking about their uniforms as he is very bossy and doesn't listen to the other kids' suggestions. The other girl can't believe they have to wear a tracksuit as he then fires her. The girls can't believe it as he throws the rulebook over to Sadie. Sadie can't believe they have to listen to the team captain as she says that is no way to build a team as the kid is in his own head and thinking he is a big shot. Sadie is not happy as she starts to talk about alpha dogs. She says every group has one as she says the kid is annoying. She says the leader should be fair as she then talks to the nerd from the last episode as she explains they need another team member. So Rain is out by his locker as the girl comes over and asks if he needs help. Rain gives her his phone as it is his mother on the line. The girl can't believe his mother was speaking in Greek as she is impressed. She wants Rain to teach her Greek as he says yes. He then says he can't speak Greek as Sadie is asking Margaret to join the team. She checks her schedule as she says no. Sadie says it is about girl power as she tries to get Margaret on the team as Ron is not happy. Ron says he has already picked a new member as he has already picked the cool kid. Sadie says she isn't a good fit as Ron talks about them being on TV as Margaret overhears this. She says she wants to be on TV as Ron then says Margaret can be a sub. Margaret says she wants to be on the main team as the cool kid and her get into an argument. Sadie says they should have a tryout as Rain is trying to learn Greek. His mother is confused as she says Rain never listens to her. Rain then tries to listen and understand what his mother says in Greek as he is trying to impress his crush. His mother shows off his dirty sock as Rain says he can't learn this stupid language as the gang are having their own quiz. The cool kid and Margaret are put to the test as the nerd asks very easy questions. The cool kid gets them all right as she then gets the spot on the team. Sadie asks what went wrong for Margaret as she explains she was just slow on the buzzer. Sadie still can't believe the alpha dogs are in charge as the team is weak. Ron is happy as he flirts with the cool kid. They say he needs to shower as they are having a group meeting. Ron is being very demanding as Sadie says they could do a team cheer. Ron mocks them as on the quiz show, the host is greeting the teams. Sadie is doing a monologue as Ron is answering all the questions. Sadie says Ron is taking over as Sadie can't believe it. So the quiz takes a break as Sadie then gets into an argument with Ron. He says he is carrying the team as he then reveals he rigged the earlier test as he says he forgot to put batteries in Margaret's buzzer. Sadie can't believe it as she talks more about the alpha dogs. She says they need to find a weakness as they talk about him sweating. They get him nervous as the show comes back from the break. The host asks more questions as Ron buzzes in. He panics and runs away. Sadie gets it right. So we hear an announcement over the PA that there is an emergency meeting. The head teacher is telling the team off as she then announces Sadie can be captain. Sadie is happy she is in charge as she says everything will be different now. She throws the rules in the bin as she makes a great speech, but that doesn't last long as they get into an argument over what to wear. Sadie says they need to work together as Rain is teaching his crush about Greek food. he shows off a menu for some reason as Rain tries to impress the girl. The girl wants to know some expressions as Rain explains they are very hard to learn as he makes stuff up. The girl then repeats what he said as Rain is shocked, so the team are still trying to figure out what to do with the team as they get into the next round of the quiz, but things don't go so well as they can't figure out who is in charge. They lose as the team freezes. Sadie says winning isn't everything as after the quiz the team are fighting once again. Sadie doesn't know what to do as the nerd says Ron was a better captain. The rest of them agree as Sadie gives in. Margaret says if she wants to be an alpha dog, you have to lead, so the girl storms over to Rain's locker as she is not happy with him as she finds out she wasn't taught Greek. She is not happy as she explains she went to a restaurant last night and she was laughed at. Rain tries to lie his way out of it as the girl falls for his lies. She feels bad as the girl wants to learn more Greek, so she suggests Rain's mom as he can't believe it. So Ron returns to the quiz team as he says their last performance was embarrassing. The head teacher comes in and says their goal is to not to look stupid on TV again as she says the team needs strength and needs to work together. She wishes them good luck as Sadie says she learned her lesson as she says she was trying to put off a decision to be fair to everyone. Margaret tells her to cheer up as she explains they have one last chance on the quiz as Sadie is now the sub. She talks to herself as she says she wants to prove to everyone that she can be leader. Sadie then tries to come up with a plan. So on the quiz, Ron is getting them all right as Sadie is just sitting there. The host comes over and asks about the team as Ron belittles them. The host says the team can talk about their upcoming answer as Ron says he doesn't need to do that. Ron is very mean to the host as the team is not happy. Sadie spots this as she talks about being able to adapt. The host then asks a science question as the nerd knows it but Ron doesn't. Ron says it is a trick question as he asks the team for an answer. The team tells Sadie to tell Ron the wrong answer to teach him a lesson. So Sadie is in the power position as she talks about what she could do. She thinks about the two options as she explains she will never be the alpha dog, but does want to do what is right for the team. So she gives Ron the answer but Ron ignores her as the other team wins the game. Ron says he was tricked as Sadie says she was trying to help. The team are happy with Sadie as they make up, so Rain is coming out of school as he overhears his mother and his crush talking Greek as he can't believe it. His mother is telling stories about Rain as Rain doesn't understand. The girl laughs away as she tells Rain to learn Greek. The episode then ends on that note. Finally we have survival swim. So Sadie is using her binoculars as she says anything can be wonderful as she says she calls the school a zoo as she looks at some kid at the bikes. The bikes fall down as she walks into school. She talks about everyone as she says everyone is unique as one of the kids hits his head on a door. So we see the swimming pool as Sadie is scared as she then introduces us to Owen. She fancies him as the whistle is then blown. Everyone gets into the pool as she explains she wants to ask Owen out because he reminds her of a dolphin. We then see the cool kid once again as she is struggling in the water. Sadie explains she has been watching her for some time now as she says she has some facts on her. She says the cool kid is a land animal as she says she is popular. She explains in water she is not very good. I'm not really sure the comparison as we then see Rain and Margaret as they say they overheard what Sadie said and they can't believe she called her a hippo. So at the lockers, Sadie is trying to defend herself as someone has painted a hippo on the locker as the cool kid is not happy with Sadie. So over at Rain's house, he is playing some pinball as Sadie says he is in trouble. His mother gives him his test paper as Rain tries to make huge excuses for his bad work. His mother gives him a book as she says he needs to do better otherwise you are going to fail in life. Rain says he studies all the time as his mom is tired and suggests he study 3 hours every day. Rain says he will do better next time as his mom threatens him with a job cleaning the toilets in the restaurant. Rain is not happy as Sadie gets some food out of the microwave for her brother as he asks what is up. Margaret explains Sadie called the cool kid a hippo as Hal can't believe she did that. Margaret says the cool kid won't forgive Sadie as Sadie tries to defend herself. Margaret says everyone at school doesn't see it that way as we then see Sadie talk about hippos and the cool kid as she keeps making a comparison for some reason. So at school Rain discovers the library as the woman tells him to be quiet. Rain asks where the quiet area is as he says he wants to study. The woman points it out as she gives him some instructions. So Rain goes to read the book as he does it for about a second. So Sadie is telling the class about hippos as the cool kid is not happy with her as some old guy is putting some fish in the fish tank as Rain is confused. He then goes over to see them as Sadie is walking through the hall complaining that the cool kid didn't like what she tried to explain to her. She says it is unfair as she compares it to the witch's trials as Margaret explains she should stay away from the cool kid for a while as Sadie says she can't because she has yard. So Rain is trying to study as everyone has gathered around the fish tank. Rain tries to carry on as everyone is shouting. He goes to find the lady as she explains to the man she can't believe he got fighting fish and they have to go back. So Sadie is sweeping away as the cool kid bullies her and says everyone is taking the mickey out of her because of Sadie. Sadie says sorry as the kid then takes her writing pad. She then looks through it and finds out Sadie has a crush on Owen. The cool kid threatens to mess with Sadie as she can't believe it, so we then hear about how dangerous the hippos are as we see Sadie head around the zoo and see many different animals. She says she has to hide otherwise she is going to get eaten, so Rain is still watching the fishes as the two teachers are getting into an argument over them. Rain tries to talk as he can't get a word in. He says he wants some quiet as Sadie comes over as Rain explains what has happened. The teacher throws a book at the other teacher as they get into a huge fight. Sadie can't believe it as she then talks about fight or flight. She says she shouldn't back down as she takes the dogs out for a walk. So the next day the cool kid arrives with her friends as Sadie says she is going to test her theory. She says she is sorry but says she isn't running scared anymore as the cool kid asks what the point is as Sadie is happy. She walks in as we find out she has stepped in dog poo. Everyone can smell it as she is the talk of the school. So Rain is trying to study once more as some guy comes over and asks if he is ready for the test. He then smells something as he heads to his locker and grabs something to wrap around his nose. Sadie is then cleaning up as Margaret says that is not a good look for Sadie as Sadie is angry with herself as Owen then comes out and slips over. Sadie can't believe it as Margaret says Sadie is doing a good job at ruining herself as Margaret takes Sadie away. So Rain is happy as he goes over to Margaret as he says he is very pumped by acing the history test as Margaret says there was a trick question as Rain is confused. Margaret tells her the answers she wrote as Rain is not happy with the answers he put. He says he failed as Margaret says his mom has to understand as Rain blames the library. Margaret tells Rain to tell his mother the truth as Rain then takes his mother to the library as she is not very happy. Rain tries to explain as Rain shows it off, but it is all quiet and Rain is embarrassed. Sadie asks what happened as his mother takes Rain away. Sadie asks what happened to the teachers as she talks about fight and flight again. She talks about how Australia had a bug problem and how they fixed it as she goes over to the fish tank and asks where the fishes are. The teacher explains that hurting someone over some fish wasn't worth it. Sadie then heads back to the swimming pool as she says she is in a worse place from where she started. The whistle then blows as she sees Owen. The teacher tells everyone to partner up as Owen smiles at Sadie. He wants to swim with her as Sadie walks over, but then spots the cool kid upset as Sadie then thinks about what is best for her. Sadie goes over and asks if the cool kid needs a partner as she tries to make things better, but she tells Sadie to forget it as she then reveals she already has a partner in Owen. They walk off together as Sadie is surprised. Sadie talks about Owen and what he would think of her now as we then see her walk through school. Owen then stops her as they talk. Owen says the cool kid nearly drowned her as Owen says he gets it. He says it was cool what she did as Sadie and Owen are happy with each other. Sadie continues to talk about everyone as animals as she says screwing up isn't so bad as the episode then ends. In conclusion, I really like Naturally Sadie. It reminds me a lot of Ned's Declassified. The stories were great for a teen drama and I really like the plot and the characters and everything to be honest. I can't really knock this one. It taught us about animals and Sadie was a great main character, so overall I would recommend this one to anyone who liked Ned's or anything like that. So thank you for watching. If you have any TV shows you like to see me do, put them in the comments.